Hello, and welcome to CalSOAP Los Angeles' free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, walkthrough, brought to you by the California Student Aid Commission. CalSOAP Los Angeles seeks to increase the academic and college preparation skills of eligible disadvantaged students. CalSOAP LA provides support, services, resources, and opportunities to underrepresented students and families in the greater Los Angeles area in order to increase post-secondary participation and success. Thanks to the California Student Aid Commission, we are able to be a resource for Los Angeles and beyond. For today's presentation, we will go over the following: required financial aid application forms, how to complete the free application for federal student aid, answer common questions of each section in the FAFSA. What is the FAFSA? The free application for federal student aid is used to apply for federal financial aid. This aid will be provided by accredited colleges and universities. Every year, thousands of students fill out this application to help colleges and universities build a financial aid package that is right for them. You can start and check the status of your application by visiting www.fafsa.ed.gov. For the high school class of 2021, students will be applying for financial aid for the 2021-2022 school year. For this cycle, you have the October 1st to March 2nd of 2022 to apply. For California only, March 2nd is the priority deadline. The tax year for both you and your parent will be the 2019 federal income tax returns. Before starting this application, having all the documents and information you need will help speed up the process to submit. This includes your Social Security number, Student Alien Registration Card, 2019 tax forms, and optional documents like driver's license number and asset information. Even if you don't have these documents, you can still start part of the application, as long as you have your Social Security number or Student Alien Registration Card. Here is the list of records families may need based on their circumstances in order to complete the FAFSA. Keep in mind that not all families will have all these records. Pause this video to take a picture, write down the list, or collect all that applies to you. The Federal Student Aid ID, or FSA ID, is a login created for the student and parent to access and sign the online FAFSA. Only one parent or guardian should get a FSA ID. If the parent or guardian does not have a Social Security number, an alternative at the end of the application will be offered. To create an FSA ID, go to www.fsaid.ed.gov. The FSA ID is a unique username and password. You will need to provide an email address. It is recommended that you not use your high school email address, because upon graduation, you may not have access to it. Because your FSA ID is linked to your Social Security number, you cannot make multiple accounts. Double check that all your information is correct before submitting your FSA ID profile. Once you have been verified, you can start the application. This can sometimes take a few minutes or a few days. You are now ready to start your FAFSA application. After creating your FSA ID, you will go to www.studentaid.gov, which will take you to the FAFSA login page. Choose I am the student and log in with your username and password that you created. The Save key allows you to save your FAFSA application and return to it later. The application is saved for 45 days unless you submit sooner. Additionally, the Save key provides a way to share access to your FAFSA forms or corrections if your parent or guardian needs to add information or sign it. Upon login, you will be in the Get Started page. Here you will choose what school year you are applying to. The year you choose will be the year you start college. For example, if you are a senior in high school in 2020 to 2021, you will apply for the 2021 to 2022 application cycle. The next page is a great resource to find answers to frequently asked questions about the application, how to save the application, and how to sign the application. Click these drop-down tabs to get the answers. The FAFSA has 7 sections: student information, school selection, dependency status, parent information, parent financials, student financials, and sign and submit. You must be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen to receive federal student financial aid. If you have recently become a U.S. citizen, you should contact the Social Security Administration to update your status. Otherwise, the U.S. Department of Education may not match with the information from the Social Security Administration. They may report that you are not a citizen and will consider you ineligible to receive federal and state aid. Pause the video here to look through eligible non-citizen statuses. If you indicate eligible non-citizen, type your 8 or 9-digit alien registration number. If you have an 8-digit number, place a 0 in the front. If you list your alien registration number, you may be asked by the college or university to provide a copy of your permanent resident card. Some who have become recent citizens may be also asked to provide a copy of their naturalization documents. It is legal to photocopy these documents for financial aid purposes. If you are not a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, you may be eligible for Cal Grants and/or aid provided by the college or university to which you've been admitted. You must be AB 540 eligible to apply to the California DREAM Act application. DACA recipients should complete the DREAM Act, not the FAFSA. You can learn more at www.dream.csac.ca.gov. This slide describes what the AB 540 status is and in order to fill out the California DREAM Act application. Pause the video here to read over if you qualify. Keep in mind not to fill out both applications. The FAFSA is for students with Social Security numbers or eligible non-citizenship status, while the California DREAM Act application is for undocumented students that meet the requirements on this slide. The next step is to start filling out the student education section. That's you. List your initial degree objective under college degree, not your ultimate degree objective. Answer no to the question about already having a bachelor's degree. This will disqualify you from the Federal Pell Grant, Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, and Cal Grant. What will be your college grade level? Never attended college. Even if you took some college level classes in high school, such as dual enrollment and AP classes. Always answer yes to the question about interest in work study. Answering no will not get you any more grants. Answering yes does not guarantee that you will get a work study job. You always have the option of turning down work study later. Gender on the FAFSA should be the gender assigned at birth, even if it has subsequently changed. Male students aged 18 to 25 must register for selective service, or they will not be eligible for federal student aid. Even undocumented students are required to register with selective service. The question about foster care is to provide students who are or were in the foster care system information about additional resources. The Chafee Grant is an additional award on top of what could be offered by institutions. For the parent education questions, college or beyond should be selected only if the parent has at least a bachelor's degree in the United States. The purpose of this question is to determine whether the student is a first-generation college student. You will need to use a federal school code for each of the schools you want to list in Section 2. You can look up the school codes using a search engine or going to the college or university's website to find it. Be sure to enter the state where the school is located to make the search for the name of the college or university easier. Please note that this federal code is different from the SAT, ACT, and CSS profile code numbers. You can always go back in and add more schools if you are applying to more than 10 once your FAFSA has been processed successfully. Next, you will select the housing plan that best describes the type of housing you expect to have while attending each listed college or university for that year. Select on-campus, with parent, or off-campus for each school listed. List on-campus if you are unsure whether you will live with your parent or guardian or on-campus. Remember, selecting the on-campus housing option is not an application for housing. Check with the college or university for housing application information when you apply for admission. Make sure not to miss any important deadlines for the housing applications if you plan to live in campus housing. On the far right column, you'll see a navigation tool that may be used if you choose to change the order of the listed school choices. The search function will give you a list of schools that met your search criteria. To select a school, simply mark the box next to the school. Continue to add up to a total of 10 schools. The FAFSA application includes intelligent skip logic. If you answer yes to one of the dependency status questions, FAFSA may skip the remaining dependency status questions. Pause the video here should you want to see the difference between dependent and independent students. Determination of student dependency status. If you answer no to all questions in this section, you are considered a dependent student, and your custodial parents will be required to provide information in the parent demographics and financial information sections. If you answer yes to at least one of the questions in this section, you will be considered independent and will be asked to provide information only for yourself and your spouse if married. Note, if you have circumstances that you believe that you are an independent student, then you can request special consideration from each college or university by submitting a letter of special circumstances directly to each financial aid office. Appeals are considered on a case-by-case basis and are decided by each individual college. Not all appeals will be granted. For today's presentation, we will assume that you are required to provide custodial parental information. In this section, you will be answering questions about your parent or guardian's basic information, for example, birthday and marital status. If the answer to any question in Section 4 is 0, or the question does not apply, the answer should be entered as 0, shown on this slide. Any information that requires a dollar figure should be whole dollar amounts. Most taxpayers will have filed federal income tax returns by the October 1st start date. The main exception is active duty members of the U.S. Armed Forces in a combat area who are not required to file until 6 months after returning from active duty deployment. Remember, if your parents whose information is reported on the FAFSA have not yet completed their 2019 federal income tax forms, it is important that they use the best estimates of their total 2019 taxable and untaxed income. W-2s, final 2019 paycheck stubs, or any other employment or income records may help parents to estimate. It is okay to use estimated 2019 income information when completing the FAFSA, such as when a parent is serving an active duty in a combat area. Both you and your parents will have opportunities to update estimated income amounts when actual federal tax returns are filed or other documentation becomes available. It is best to use the IRS data retrieval tool if available, since this reduces the likelihood of your FAFSA being selected for verification. Who is considered a parent? Before starting this section, listen carefully to help determine who is considered a parent. Students and their parents must answer all the questions in Section 4 as of the date they complete and submit the application. These instructions apply even if you do not live with your legal parents, but are still required to provide parental information on your 2021-22 FAFSA. The next slide will further explain how to determine whose financial information you should put in your application. This visual is a guide to help you figure out whose information you need to report to FAFSA. Keep in mind that FAFSA does understand that you may live with a relative or someone else who is taking care of you, but for this application, you will need your biological or legal guardian's information. Pause this video to see whose information to use. Note, if you live with one parent more than the other, that will be the parent and household you will report on the FAFSA. Parent household size. The number of family members in the household directly affects the family's ability to contribute to your education cost. The list shown here should be included in the parent's household size. Taxpayers who file a federal income tax return may be able to use the IRS data retrieval tool. The IRS DRT will transfer data from the original tax return to the application. The Financial Aid Office may ask for a copy of the amended federal income tax return should that apply. Any data element that is transferred unmodified from a federal income tax return into the FAFSA will not be subject to verification. Members of the U.S. Armed Forces who are in active duty in a combat zone are not required to file federal income tax returns until 180 days after the end of their deployment. This question may allow some parents who are already completed their 2019 federal income tax return to transfer their tax data from the IRS directly to the U.S. Department of Education. If your parent or parents' answer already completed, they will be given the option to transfer their 2019 income tax information directly from the IRS records. If parents have filed their 2019 electronically within the last 3 weeks or by mail in the last 11, they may not be able to access the IRS data. Some parents, regardless of when they filed, will not be able to use this tool. These include those parents who are married and filed separately, file as head of household, filed an amended federal tax return, or filed a Puerto Rican or foreign tax return. A parent who does not have a Social Security number will not be able to use the IRS data retrieval tool. If, based on parents' responses to the data retrieval questions, the IRS thinks that parental 2019 tax information can be transferred directly to the FAFSA application, you will see the screen above. Parents can then initiate the data transfer. Applicants who do not use the IRS DRT may be required to obtain a tax return transcript if their FAFSA is selected for verification, which we will talk about later. Initiating the transfer to the IRS site will take the parents away from the application into another window. After authorizing the IRS data transfer, parents need to make sure to return to the FAFSA by clicking OK. If parents do not wish to transfer IRS data or return to the FAFSA, they should hit Cancel. IRS tax transcript. Verification is a process that happens to students. The IRS transcript is needed if chosen. Students and parents can get their IRS tax transcript online at the website on this slide. The Get Transcript Online tool allows the user to immediately receive an online PDF version of their IRS tax return transcript. If applicable, verification of non-filing. Getting the tax transcript online is best, since you can get it quickly, but it does require more information to verify your identity. To use the Get Transcript Online tool, the taxpayer must have access to a valid email address, a text-enabled mobile phone in the taxpayer's name, certain financial account numbers such as credit card number or an account number for a home mortgage or car loan. The IRS will send the taxpayer a confirmation code via email and an authentication code via text to finalize the Get Transcript Online registration. Note that the IRS will never request login information or personal data via email or text. Taxpayers who are unable to use the Get Transcript Online tool may obtain a tax return transcript using the IRS Get Transcript by Mail option or by calling 1-800-908-9946. This will result in the IRS mailing a paper transcript to the address on file with the IRS. Unless the taxpayer has formally changed their address with the IRS, the address on file with the IRS is the one used on the individual's last filed tax return. The IRS no longer sends tax transcripts to third-party addresses and no longer sends tax transcripts by fax. Important: the IRS does not accept requests for transcripts at its taxpayer assistance centers. You will be asked if Parent 1 and/or Parent 2 is a dislocated worker. A parent may be considered a dislocated worker if one of the following apply shown here. These definitions are also available on the FAFSA application, so don't worry about remembering all this information. Receiving benefits from one of the federal programs listed on the FAFSA affects the way the U.S. Department of Education calculates the parent's expected family contribution, or EFC. If the student's parents, or a member of the parent's household receive benefits from one of the following federal programs in 2019 or 2020, you will mark all that apply. This additional financial information question asks about information not included as part of a parental income when calculating student need. For example, if either of the custodial parents is paying child support for a child in another household, this amount will be subtracted from the total custodial parent income. The parents should check all that apply. The parent may be asked to report their annual 2019 amounts for all boxes checked. This 2019 Untaxed Income Information section asks questions about untaxed income the custodial parents earned or received. Parents should be sure to include pre-tax contributions they have made to 2019 tax-deferred pensions, retirement savings plans, IRAs, and KIROs. Additionally, parents should include other untaxed income such as child support received in 2019 for children, tax-exempt interest income, housing/food, and other living allowances paid to military and clergy, as well as any income not reported elsewhere on the form. Some colleges and universities may ask for information about other untaxed income, such as untaxed foreign income. They may also request documentation of any information reported here. You, the student, should check all that apply. You may be asked to report your parents' annual 2019 amounts for all boxes checked. The purpose of collecting asset information is to determine whether the family's assets are substantial enough to support an additional contribution toward your educational expenses. Only the net asset value is counted in the needs analysis. To determine the net value of an asset, first determine the market value of the asset, and then subtract the amount of debt owned on the asset. The result is the net value of the asset. Section 5, Financial Information, asks information about custodial parent assets as of the day the FAFSA is actually completed. These questions are different than those that ask about 2019 parent income. We'll talk more about assets in a moment. If the answer to any question is 0, enter the number 0. Do not leave any question blank. Be as accurate as possible in reporting assets. Some financial aid offices may require documentation of reported amounts. An asset is defined as property that has an exchange value. Assets fall into 3 categories for the FAFSA: cash, savings, and checking, investments, business or investment farm value. Cash, savings, and checkings are liquid funds that parents has as of the day the student and their family complete the FAFSA. Investments include some of the following: real estate, trust funds, certificate of deposit, stock and stock options. Business and investment farms include the market value of land, buildings, machinery, equipment, and inventory. Debt means only those debts for which the business or investment farm was used as collateral. Keep in mind that only the net worth of assets should be reported. Remember, parents should not report assets such as the family home, the value of any life insurance, or the value of a family-owned and controlled small business. And most importantly, any accumulated funds in retirement accounts such as Roth or traditional IRAs, pension funds, KIRO, 401ks, 403bs, or other plans should not be reported. Receiving benefits from one of the federal programs listed on the FAFSA affects the way in which the federal processor will calculate your expected family contribution. If you are an independent student, your spouse, or any member of your household receive benefits from one of the following federal programs, In 2019 or 2020, you should mark the boxes for all the programs for which you receive benefits. If you are a dependent, you will skip this question. We recommend signing the FAFSA electronically with your FSA ID, so you, the student, do not need to print, sign, and mail a signature page. Also, make sure to read and mark agree to the student's term of agreement. By signing the agreement, you agree to use federal and state student aid funds for college costs, not to be in default on a federal student loan or made satisfactory arrangements to repay it, or not owe money on a federal student grant or made satisfactory arrangements to repay it. We recommend signing the FAFSA electronically with the custodial parent's FSA ID. Please read and mark agree to the parent terms of agreement. Note, for any parent who does not have a valid Social Security number, the paper signature page represents the alternative way to complete the FAFSA. If the custodial parent does not have a valid SSN, the eligible student should use their FSA ID to provide the student signature. Submitting a paper signature page may delay FAFSA processing for a few weeks, so we recommend submitting the FAFSA and any corrections as early as possible. If using the paper signature page process, families should keep a copy of the signed paper signature page for their records. Students might also consider providing a copy to the college and university to which they've applied for and hope to attend.
You should choose to print the confirmation page. This page confirms the date and time of submission of the FAFSA to the U.S. Department of Education. In addition, it shows your expected family contribution, estimated federal Pell Grant, and federal Stafford loan eligibility, as well as the list of schools scheduled to receive your FAFSA data. Each time you make FAFSA corrections, a new confirmation page will be available, which will reflect the changes made. Common FAFSA mistakes. There are always parts of the FAFSA that students and parents alike have trouble understanding and are often corrected after the initial FAFSA submission. Common FAFSA mistakes include spelling of names, addresses, confusing the student and parent questions, and incorrectly inputting who is the legal guardian, parent, head of household status, the number of family members, or the number of children in college. Additional common mistakes include only inputting one college to receive the FAFSA data, not using the IRS data retrieval tool if possible, not providing net worth or assets as of the date the FAFSA is completed, including assets that should be excluded, and 529 plans, where to report the asset and where to report distributions. Now let's look at the student aid report. The SAR is sent to the student either through email or physical mailing address. This report is important because it gives basic information about your eligibility for federal student aid and tells you if there are any errors on your application. Please keep this with your financial and college documents, as some scholarships may want this information. Many families have special circumstances not reflected by the questions on the FAFSA. Families are encouraged to contact the financial aid office at each of the schools to which they are applying if there are significant changes in their circumstances. Pause this video to review circumstances that could be reported. If the family feels there are special circumstances that may affect their ability to contribute to college, it is important that they present their case in a way that helps the financial aid office understand their unique challenges. Not all aid offices will be able to provide additional funds if there are special circumstances, but they may be able to suggest other options. You and the colleges that you listed on the FAFSA will receive the student aid report. If you completed the FAFSA and Cal Grant verification, you will receive the California Aid Report. Make sure all documents are correct and have conversations with your family about what school could be the best option for you. Colleges will match the FAFSA and other documents to determine aid eligibility, then provide information to you about your aid and if any additional forms are needed. Please note, depending on financial changes in the family, you may need to file an appeal with the college or university's financial aid office. If you need any help, the U.S. Department of Education is always willing to provide assistance to students and families completing the FAFSA. The FAFSA has help buttons right on the electronic form as you go through the application. In addition, you can use the following phone numbers and email to get your questions answered. Connect with us. For free workshops, videos, and other resources, visit us on the web at www.calsoapla.org or find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you for your time and have a great day.